The worst parkour deaths ever. The worst parkour deaths ever, bro.
Wu Yong Ning. On November 8th, 2017, Wu Yong Ning arrived at the Huayuanhua Center in Changsha, China. The
Hold on, wait. Before we see this shit, hold on, bro. Hold on, bro. Hold on. Let me fix the screen real quick. By the way, have you ever wanted to do like any parkour related? Has anybody wanted to like do parkour? Has anybody ever done parkour? I'm not gonna lie. I'm cool off doing all type of like parkour shit though, right? Because if you fall, it's GG's. I ain't gonna lie. No. Why don't y'all want to do parkour? Y'all niggas low key like me was really doing parkour, and nigga was really doing parkour on the roof and shit like those, bro. Y'all niggas is, I don't know. Y'all niggas not built like me, bro. Y'all ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I'm trying not to die. Again, you're not gonna die if you don't fall. Really think about it, gang. Come on. You do it then? Gang, I did it, bro. The cameras was just off, bro.
Wu Yong Ning. On November 8th, 2017, Wu Yong Ning arrived at the
Holy shit. Yeah, see, this is like, yeah, okay, yeah, got it.
At the Huayuanhua Center in Changsha, China. The 62-story building stood 721 feet tall in the capital of Hunan province. Wu was 26 years old. He was about to attempt his most dangerous stunt yet. Wu had worked as a movie stuntman and martial arts practitioner before discovering roof-topping. The practice of climbing tall buildings without safety equipment had made him famous on Weibo, China's version of Twitter. He had over 60,000 followers. His videos showed him dangling from skyscrapers by his fingertips, doing pull-ups on the edges of buildings, and performing handstands on narrow beams hundreds of feet in the air.
Yeah,
Wu needed money
tripping,
badly because his mother was sick and needed medical treatment. His girlfriend Jin was waiting for a proposal. Wu had promised her they would marry soon, but the bills were too much for him. A sponsor had offered to pay him 100,000 yuan, roughly $15,000, for one video, one perfect stunt. All Wu had to do was climb the Huayuanhua Center and perform pull-ups from the roof's edge. He had done this hundreds of times before on other buildings. This time would be no different. Wu gripped the edge of the building and lowered himself over the side. His fingers wrapped around the ledge and began his pull-ups. At one point, Wu tried to pull himself back onto the roof, but he couldn't. That was when he knew something was wrong. His muscles were not responding. Bro. Fatigue had set in faster than expected. He hung there, clinging to the edge. 15 seconds passed. His fingers began to slip as he could not get a better grip.
That must be the worst feeling in the world, bro. Trying to like pull yourself up off some shit and you can feel your fingers falling, bro. Like you can feel like you don't have the strength to even do it. That must be, and then you just look down and see, you know.
Wu's arms shook from the strain, and he fell to his death. The camera captured him dropping out of frame. He descended 45 feet before landing on a terrace below. A window washer discovered his body the next morning. Remy Lucidi. On July 27, 2023, Remy Lucidi checked into a hostel in Tsim Sha Tsui, Hong Kong. The 30-year-old Frenchman had been staying there for 10 days. Lucidi was known as Remy Enigma on Instagram. He had thousands of followers who watched him climb buildings across the world. His feed showed stunning photos from rooftops in Dubai, Bulgaria, France, Thailand, Colombia, Poland, and Portugal.
I wonder how people find out that they like this, bro. Because, like, I don't know. Like, is there anybody in the chat who is into stuff like this? Because I couldn't imagine, like, in order to like something, you have to have a first time doing some shit. But how do you even get into something like this?
He specialized in unauthorized climbs of skyscrapers, cranes, bridges, and transmission towers. That evening around 6 p.m., Lucidi arrived at the Trigunter Tower, a residential skyscraper in Hong Kong's upscale mid-levels area. The building stood 721 feet tall with 68 floors. A security guard stopped him at the gate, but Lucidi told the guard he was visiting a friend on the 40th floor. He gave a specific apartment number. The guard allowed him. The elevator took him up. CCTV footage showed him arriving on the 49th floor. Then he disappeared into a stairwell. He climbed the remaining floors on foot. At 7:30 p.m., a maid inside a 68th floor...
Already climbing those floors on foot is already insane. And shit like those on the going up the elevator and he's climbing up the remaining floors on foot. Tough.
Penthouse apartment heard knocking on the window. She turned and saw a man outside. He was standing on a narrow ledge. He was knocking frantically on the glass. His face showed panic. The maid screamed and called the police immediately. She described a man trapped outside who needed help urgently. Officers were dispatched to
she must have been mumbling flabbergasted. How's that out there?
Tower. Before they arrived, Lucidi lost his footing and fell from the 68th floor. Police found his body at the scene. Pavel Kashin.
That sucks, bro. Damn, that sucks, man.
On July 6, 2013, Pavel Kashin climbed to a...
What This the craziest image of them all, bro. Yeah, bro. This the craziest image of them all, bro. One, like, bro, if he misangles that backflip at all, it's just GG's at that point.
Pavel Kashin climbed to a rooftop in St. Petersburg, Russia. He was 24 years old and one of Russia's most well-known freerunners. He had spent years perfecting his craft. Parkour was his life. Kashin specialized in urban acrobatics. He could flip, vault, and leap across city obstacles with precision. His videos showed him running across rooftops, jumping between buildings, and performing backflips on narrow surfaces. Everything looked effortless. He made it look easy. That afternoon, Kashin stood on the edge of a 16-story building. A small group of friends and fellow traceurs watched from a safe distance. They had seen him do this move before. It was one of his signature stunts, a standing backflip on the roof's edge. The technique required perfect balance and timing. Plant both feet, spring backward, rotate in the air.
See, bro, but it's like you need perfect timing. If it's not perfect, you're dead. Like if you fuck up at all, you're just dead. Like, no, I think I'm good. I think I'd rather be a who defuse bombs, bro, than a backflipping.
Land solidly on the same spot. Any miscalculation meant disaster. Kashin positioned himself carefully. His toes were inches from the edge. He could see the drop behind him, 16 stories straight down. He had practiced this move hundreds of times on ground level. He had done it on rooftops before. He knew he could do it again. He bent his knees and sprung backward. His body rotated through the air. The backflip was clean, but when he came down, his footing was off by inches. One foot landed on the edge. The other foot landed on nothing. His balance shifted. He tried to restore balance, but his arms windmilled. For a split second, it looked like he might recover, but he fell backward, nearly 200 feet off the building.
Damn.
Witnesses watched in horror as Kashin dropped 16 stories without any way to stop himself. He died on impact. Yuri Elisiv. On November 8, 2016, Yuri Elisiv's life took an unexpected turn at his apartment in Moscow, Russia. He was 20 years old and a chess grandmaster. He had won the World Under-16 Chess Championship in 2012. His entire young life was defined by chess. But Elisiv developed a new hobby, parkour. He enjoyed the physical challenge.
Bro, from chess to parkour is a crazy pipeline. I've never seen those ones before.
After spending so much time sitting at chessboards. That evening, Elisiv stood on his apartment balcony on the 12th floor. His girlfriend was inside the apartment. They had been together for a while. She knew about his parkour interest. She had seen him practice moves before, but he was not an experienced traceur. He was still learning. Elisiv decided to attempt a parkour move on the balcony railing. He stepped up onto the railing and tried to execute the move. Suddenly, he lost his balance. His foot slipped and he fell from the balcony. His girlfriend heard the commotion. Man. She rushed outside, but Yuri was gone. She looked over the edge and saw him far below. She called emergency services immediately. By the time paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could do. Yuri Elisiv was pronounced dead at the scene. AF. In March 2019, a 17-year-old Russian teenager arrived in Ankara,
why is there so much parkour shit in Russia, my nigga? What's going on?
He was visiting from Russia. His name was reported only as AF in Turkish media. He was interested in parkour and urban exploration. Ankara's skyline offered plenty of buildings to explore, high rises, rooftops, places where a young traceur could test his skills away from home. AF had done parkour in Russia. He felt confident in his abilities. That day, AF climbed to the roof of a 7-story building. Another rooftop.
Russia must not got like Live Leak or like Twitter or something like that, because like this is don't give a fuck.
Sat nearby. The gap between buildings was not enormous, maybe 8 to 10 feet. For an experienced traceur, this was a routine jump. Run, leap, land, roll. Simple. AF stood on the edge of the first building. He looked across the gap. The other rooftop was at roughly the same height, maybe slightly lower. The distance looked manageable. He backed up to get a running start. He took several deep breaths. Then he sprinted toward the edge. He was flying across the gap between buildings, but he did not make it. His trajectory fell short. Instead of landing on the other rooftop, he dropped into the gap between the buildings. He fell 7 stories down into the narrow space. People on the street heard the impact and called emergency services. Paramedics arrived and found AF in the alley between buildings, but he was already dead. Frankie Newman. On December 2, 2016, Frankie Newman met his end in Paris, France. He was a British freerunner and urban explorer. At 17 years old, he had built a reputation for daring stunts and rooftop photography. His friends knew him as fearless.
17?
That night, Newman was with companions exploring.
Like sometimes be like, yo, you don't get to experience this shit in life. Not everything in life is supposed to be experienced low key, bro. Like I think I am personally fine with never parkouring off tall buildings or standing on top of tall buildings. You feel me?
Paris. They had been moving through various urban locations. At some point, the group approached the Paris metro system. The subway trains ran underground and above ground on certain routes. Newman and his friends decided to attempt train surfing. This involved riding on top of moving metro trains. It was illegal and extremely dangerous, but it was also popular among some urban explorers who filmed the experience for social media. Newman stuck his head out while on top of a moving train and made contact with the tunnel entrance. The impact was instant. Newman suffered catastrophic head trauma. He was pronounced dead at the scene. St. Petersburg woman. In 2012, a 24-year-old woman in St. Petersburg, Russia, decided to try parkour for the first time. She had friends who were experienced traceurs. They practiced regularly on the city's rooftops. She wanted to join them. They met on the rooftop of a building in the city.
Playing Subway Surfers in real life and got a free Roblox headlet. Come on, bro. Yo, I ain't gonna lie. Them in New York who are doing Subway Surfing need to take a page out that book and just chill out.
The exact location was not publicly disclosed. The building was approximately 17 stories tall. Her friends were there to teach her the basics and show her how the moves were done. The session started normally. At some point, one of the traceurs performed a gap jump. It was a move they had done many times before. They made it look easy. Then she decided to give it a try. Her friends advised against it.
Nah, bro. That's one of those joints where a who really liked that could easily do it and then be like, oh, I could do that. No, you can't, bro. Don't do it.
Beginners should not attempt advanced moves, but she wanted to try. She stepped up to make the jump. She ran forward and leapt, but she did not have the technique. She did not have the experience. She did not have the muscle memory that comes from years of practice. As she attempted the jump, she missed the landing completely. She fell from the 17-story building. Her friends watched in absolute horror. There was nothing they could do. She dropped over 170 feet to the ground below and died on impact.
He literally told you not to do it, bro. That sucks. He literally, like I said, noob versus hacker, yo, gang. The gates will not be open for you. I hope you know this, bro.
David Harrison. On July 29, 2018, David Harrison was in downtown West Palm Beach, Florida with friends. He was 24 years old and passionate about parkour. He had practiced for years and considered himself experienced. That night, the group was exploring the city's urban landscape. They found a building that offered interesting opportunities: walls to climb, ledges to balance on, obstacles to vault. It was the kind of location parkour enthusiasts looked for. On August 1st, Harrison attempted a move with his friends near the building. During the attempt, he made contact with electrical equipment. High-voltage electricity surged through his body. The shock was instant and powerful. He collapsed immediately. Emergency services arrived and transported Harrison to a local hospital. His injuries were severe: head trauma, internal damage, broken bones. For weeks, Harrison remained hospitalized. Despite medical intervention, Harrison's condition did not improve. On August 22, 2018, at 4:30 a.m., he died from his injuries. Johnny Turner. On September 13, 2019, Johnny Turner, a 28-year-old, was in central London near Waterloo Station. He was a well-known figure in London's urban exploration community. Turner did not just...
I wonder how big the urban exploration community is nowadays, though, bro. Like, because the urban exploration community might low-key always be losing, bro. Because you hear about stories like this, you assume like this, like people who are parkouring off of high buildings and shit like those, like this shit happens a lot. Because I mean, it's bound to happen at some point, no? If a nigga's consistently jumping off high buildings, one of those times he just not gonna make it.
Practice parkour. He also explored abandoned buildings, construction sites, and places most people never
I guess urban exploration isn't only just parkour. It could literally just be like, you know, like discovering like random or abandoned shit.
He called himself an urban explorer. That day, Turner climbed scaffolding on a building under construction. The scaffolding rose 8 stories high. For an experienced climber like Turner, this was routine. He had scaled far more dangerous structures. The scaffolding provided good hand and footholds. Metal bars ran vertically and horizontally. It was like a giant jungle gym. Turner moved upward with confidence, but something went wrong near the top. Maybe a bar was not secured properly, or he misjudged a grip. Whatever the cause, Turner fell. He dropped 8 stories through the scaffolding structure. The metal bars struck him repeatedly on the way down. Each impact caused more damage. He hit the ground at the bottom. Workers at the site immediately called emergency services. Paramedics arrived within minutes, but Johnny Turner was pronounced dead at the scene. Tyreek Riley. On March 12, 2015, Tyreek Riley and his friends were on a Brooklyn rooftop. Riley was 15 years old. It was evening. The boys were hanging out, talking, and moving around the building's roof. Someone suggested trying to jump to the next building. The gap between rooftops was approximately 10 feet. The buildings were similar in height. For experienced traceurs, this would be a manageable jump. But Riley and his friends were not trained parkour athletes. They were teenagers attempting something they had seen in videos. Riley decided to try the jump first. He backed up to get a running start. His friends watched from a safe distance. He sprinted toward the edge of the building. For a moment, his body was airborne above the gap. Then, gravity took over. Riley came up short. He did not make the distance. Instead of landing on the other rooftop, he dropped into the gap between buildings. He fell multiple stories to the ground below. His friends screamed and ran to look over the edge. They could see Riley lying motionless far below. They immediately called for help. The paramedics arrived at 4:30 p.m. and found Riley unresponsive. He had suffered catastrophic injuries from the fall. Despite medical efforts, Tyreek Riley later died.
R.I.P., bro.
If you'd like to see more stories like this...
As a kid, man, it's like... Bro, you shouldn't even try that shit unless you're really, really a professional at it, bro. I don't even... Like, that shit is so... That's so unfortunate, bro. But y'all be careful out there in general, bro. Like, doing, like, daring, extreme stuff is not my forte. I ain't gonna lie. But we're going to put this on the live channel. If you're watching this on the live channel, Twitch will be right in the description. This is one of those ones where it's like, damn, bro. You can't even say nothing but damn at the end of it. But yeah, BBG.